Hello class and welcome to week 1 of History and Systems of Psychology. This lecture will serve the purpose as to reviewing our week 1 objectives as well as a brief overview of the syllabus and just an introductory towards the course. So by now you guys should have your textbooks and you should have reviewed your syllabus. However, I will skim over that briefly. So for this course, of course, I know many of you have taken Cal Baptist courses, but this is just, the syllabus will be the overview of the course and what specifically to be aware of. That will be due dates, your textbooks, and things like that. So of course, these are the textbooks that you need, as well as you will have, of course, discussion boards, exams. You'll have one paper, and 3 projects, as well as a critical assignment capstone project. And of course, that must be passed at a 70% rate in order to pass. So no matter what you make throughout the course, if you do not pass that to 70% rate, you will not pass the course. And this is just a breakdown of the points. If you're wondering about how many points it is a 1,000-point course. And this breaks down, of course, your weekly activities, and you guys know all this information. But there's a couple things I do want to highlight on it. Week 8, your capstone project will be due on week 5. So just to give you, I know that's 8 weeks away, but just to give you a heads up on that. I know a lot of people have submitted their assignments late in the past, and they failed the course because of that. So I just wanted to make sure that you are submitting your assignments on time. And this outlines, of course, my late policy. So in regards to this course, I do offer a 2-hour grace period. So say, for instance, if you have a paper that's due on Sunday at midnight, I do offer a 2-hour grace period. So if you submit your paper on that same Sunday by 2:05 a.m., you will not be penalized. But anything after that will be penalized 25% per day. So that's just a breakdown of that. And as I mentioned before, if you have any emergencies or things that pop up, because that does happen, just reach out to me and I'll be more than willing to accommodate you. And we can work on a plan or a schedule or something that will be best in your best interest for your grade for the course. So with that being said, let's jump right in. And there's another area of discussion too. In order for you to even watch this lecture video or participate in discussion boards or submit any assignments, you do have to complete your student responsibility agreement, and that's 10 questions, and the answer is yes to all of them, and that basically opens access to all of your lecture activities or learning activities and things of that nature. And also, just a prerequisite before the course, this is just an introductory as to me and getting to know me on a more personal level. I know throughout the course I ask you all to be personal and so I can get to know you and your classmates can get to know you. So I think it's only fair that you know a little bit about me as well. So let's jump into week 1. So this week, you have quite a bit of reading to do, so you'll read chapters 1 and 2, as well as there's a supplemental reading that you guys can dive into, as well as this. Of course, you need Adobe. Let me open this up so you can see what it looks like. It's just a video on history of Western philosophy, and it's on YouTube, and I believe it's probably, let me see how long it is so I am not steering you in the wrong direction. It's about 49 minutes, so it's quite long. So make sure you have time for that during your add that in your week, so you do watch that video. It's very interesting. And also you have your discussion board. So your discussion board post will be no less than 300 words, and you'll be responding to your classmates in 50 words or more. And this basically outlines the criteria for how I grade the discussion board post. So your classmates' responses are 6 points each. Your spelling and grammar, if there's any errors, there'll be 2.75 points each taken off. And if you share, of course, your points and beliefs regarding the topic, then you'll receive 10 points. So here's another area of citation, or not citation, article that you guys will be reviewing. And then you have a paper due for this week. So let's jump right into that and discuss that, because that is the main area of discussion for this week, is the paper. And as I mentioned before, I uploaded a APA formatted paper. So if you are having struggles with APA formatting, I acknowledge you or encourage you to reach out to me personally, or review this APA formatted paper that I'm going to pull up right now, just so you have a background on what I'm exactly looking for in terms of APA formatting. So here it is, APA formatting, and it was a paper submitted by Dr. Frederick. How about this? Okay, so as you first look at the paper, these are the main things I'm looking for. So you need a running head here. And this is what the running head looked like, and then you'll have your title here, and it's all in capital letters, and also you'll have your page number right here, as well as your title, your name, and Cal Baptist University. And specifically, this has abstract, but most likely you guys won't be using any abstract in the course. If that's specific to the assignment, I will make sure that I include, please include an abstract or anything like that. But for the most part, if you don't hear me or see me mention anything about abstract, you do not need to include the abstract. And so this is how the paper will look. Specifically for source citations, you see how the writer does the authors, the year that it was published, and specifically the page number. The page number is specifically used for whenever you use direct quotes. So this is a direct quote within the quotation marks. So that is why they're using the page number. So if you're not using a direct quote, then you do not necessarily need to include a page number. So see, for instance, here they just did the author and the year that the article was published. And as I mentioned before, this is an exact match on what to look for in terms of APA formatting. So whenever you are writing your paper for this week, include this specifically for formatting. Also, subheaders are very huge to me personally, because it outlines your section and it outlines your paper very well. So I really look for the flow and your use of subheaders. I believe that's it. Let's go to the reference page. There's a lot of pages on this paper, so please excuse me. So the reference page will be in alphabetical order. You'll see here it'll have the author's name, the year of publication, the title of the book, where the book may be found, where it was written, and this is the indentation. So all the references should be indentated on the second line. And you see some of these have the DOI. A lot of the times I find them unnecessary because there's just a lot of numbers, but for the most part, if it includes the DOI on the reference, then please use it and cite it. So that is an outline of what to look for in terms of a paper. So, where am I? Sorry. So many courses I've taught. Let's see, here we are. History and Systems. So let's go back to the course at hand. So yeah, week 1. So for your paper that is due on Sunday, so this is a reflection paper. It'll be more along the lines of, what you think, how you feel, and things like that. So it says, although not an example of a peer-reviewed literature, the article nevertheless can help and develop the appreciation of the role learning about the history of psychology plays in the understanding the current issues in the field. In order to explain the role of learning history of psychology and understanding of current direction of the field, students will read the linked article below in the APA magazine. So this is the article you'll read. Let's open it up. external URL. So that's the article you read. I'm going to go back here so I can have more instructions. Here we go. And once that opens up, of course it's taking forever. So let's go ahead and jump right into what exactly we're looking for. So it's a one-page paper, so minimum you'll need 1 page of writing. So the main areas of discussion are: did the article make a convincing case for studying the history of psychology? You'll answer that question. You'll answer why or why not. What benefit do you see in learning about early philosophers? So, for instance, the paper talks about, Plato or whoever. Was that influential into how psychology works now, or does their writing influence or help with learning more about psychology? How can knowledge about the history of psychology help us better understand the field today, and where is it going? And I think this is a big question, number 3, because it definitely can broaden your horizons as to why history is beneficial to our field today, and where do you see it going potentially in the future. So also to help you develop and practice writing, which is consistent with APA guidelines, please utilize the APA publication manual and the materials available in week 0 of the learning activities to format your reflection paper accordingly. And this is exactly what I just went over in terms of APA formatting. So it's asking for you to include APA title page. It's asking you to follow APA guidelines using scholarly tone, spelling, and grammar conventions. It's asking you to use in-text citation, so you can use this article citation, or if you have additional articles that you found, you can use that. But also be sure to include it on your reference page. So it says, be well developed, easy to follow, and support all opinions with academic sources. Websites are not acceptable, so I do want to say that too as well. So that's including your subheaders, making sure you're answering all the topics or all the questions, and you should do great on this assignment. It's pretty, I love reflection papers because it allows you to be able to express yourself and to share your thoughts about the material. So this is the article that you'll be looking at. And like I said, if this isn't enough for you to answer these questions, you can always, say for instance, go on Google Scholar and look up what benefit do you see learning about early philosophers for psychology, or what benefit does psychology have, history of psychology have for further research, whatever that may be, whatever that looks like to you, just to help broaden your case in terms of your reflection of the material. And also, this paper has a rubric. So as I mentioned before, if you follow the rubric, you will do just fine on this paper, and it is worth 75 points. So this gives you an outline of exactly what I'm looking for. So APA formatting, there's no grammar, spelling errors. APA guidelines are applied consistently with few, if any, errors, minor errors with citation, minor formatting errors, and reference page. You'll get 25 points for that. Organization, so that's like I mentioned before, using subheaders. The paper follows a logical order and all requirements are met and well developed and discussed. And then lastly, content information. So that's if you answer all the questions. The information presented is accurate and discussed in sufficient detail, utilizing support from the textbook or other academic sources to demonstrate understanding and critical analysis. And I also mentioned that, using different articles, using the textbook too as well. After you read chapters 1 and 2, if there's any information that stands out to you that you think will be beneficial for your paper, use it. And I think it's a great area of source information for you. So let's jump right into chapters 1 and 2. I want to do a brief overview of the material. So chapter 1, of course, is understanding psychology's history. You can't dive deep into the material without having a basis of understanding of what exactly is going to be talked about. So this area focuses on, of course, what do we study? Focusing on knowledge, understanding historical context, examining the roots, and remembering great individuals. So that's remembering the historical figures. That's examining where psychology started from. That's understanding the historical context, specifically what happened in history that contributes to the development of psychology and the knowledge that we know today. So there's recurrent themes in psychology. Of course, there is the mind-body problem, the nature-nurture debate, and the theorist-practitioner debate. So the main area of focus that I like to hone in on is the nature versus nurture debate, okay? So this discussion is that genetics can overrule nurture. So nurture is how your parents raise you, your environment, the things that you see on a daily basis, and nature is what you are born with. That's your DNA, your the things that your parents ingrained in you genetically. So specifically when it comes to nature versus nurture, another argument for homosexuality, whether that's nature or nurture, whether sexuality is determined by your genetics or is it determined by your environment, your nurturing, and things like that. So that gives you a basis of information in terms of where that process of nature versus nurture comes from. So here's a great table for you guys to review. It's 4 types of knowledge in psychology. So, of course, there's scientific knowledge, and this knowledge is accumulated through research, systematic empirical observations, and evaluation of a wide range of psychological phenomena. These facts are obtained with the help of scientific research, of course, and rigorous verification by multiple sources, typically including peer reviewers. So on the basis of all the art journal articles that you guys use for your papers and things like that, this is that scientific research component where studies have been done and things like that. That's where the knowledge comes from. So anything that we know in terms of psychology, even medical history and things like that, are done via research and scientific method to get to where we are today. So another type of knowledge, of course, is popular or folk knowledge. So that's, of course, the everyday assumptions about psychological phenomena and behavior, such as assumptions that are often expressed in the form of beliefs, evaluations, or prescriptions. So this is based on what you see and hear. So I like to say one thing that stands out to me is, how people say they're street smart or book smart. And this is on the basis of what we grew up learning. Like my parents have always said, I'm book smart, or my siblings are street smart, things like that. This is based on the assumptions that we see every day and what behaviors stand out to you. Or even if we are talking about continuing on the lines of sexuality, how behaviors are supposed to be specific. So girls are supposed to play with girl toys, and boys are supposed to play with boy toys, and our masculine toys such as trucks and things like that. So that's, of course, popular or folk knowledge. So, and then you have ideology, so value-based, and these are consistent set of beliefs about the world, the nature of good and evil, and right and wrong, and the purpose of human life are all based on certain organizing principles or central idea. So that in and of itself is self-explanatory. So our beliefs, our values, so kind of like black and white thinking. So whether something is good or evil, something's right or wrong, and our beliefs and our values based on that. And then, of course, legal knowledge. So knowledge encapsulated in the law and detailed in the rules and principles related to psychological functioning of individuals. Legal authorities commonly establish these rules and enforce them. So the knowledge we know about specifically when it comes to ethics and law enforcement and things like that. So here's another good chart on how scientific ideas are dismantled. So I will let you guys read that over. And of course, you'll have more information about this in your textbook But like I said, this is just a brief overview. And I don't want to spend too much time because I know you have another video to watch that is almost an hour long. But I just wanted to branch onto that for you. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk to you about in chapter 1. I don't think so. So let's move on to chapter 2. Let's see what that has for you. Open. Okay. So, chapter 2, of course, is early psychological knowledge. So, basically, where do we gain our knowledge of psychology? So, of course, we talked about psychological observations, religious scriptures, folklore, and early science. So, there's a lot of information in this, specifically for where we learn psychology in the early times. So, Mesopotamia and Egypt are examples of two early civilizations that are produced, documented, but very fragmented histories of peoples. Searches for answers about the nature of the world, specifically the role of human beings in it and supernatural forces. So oftentimes when we think about Egypt and Mesopotamia, how it feels so mythological and goddess-like, if you want to say. I know for me personally, I love studying anything about Egyptians and things like that, but it's definitely an area of focus in terms of psychology and where psychology stems from. So the separation of material and spiritual, the body and soul. So they talked about how Egyptians did their, I guess, not cremation form, but how they mummified each person, specifically their kings and gods. So they believed that if they removed all their organs out and kept their body preserved, that they will come back to life and be within that form again. So yeah, if you have any interest or anything like that within Egyptian culture, it's very interesting. But as I mentioned, it was an important step down the road of relentless inquiry into human psychology. So, and as well as the, Persians, Babylonians, the Jews, and things like that, these are all great resources for early times for psychology and our beliefs. So let me see. So early concepts of the soul. So there's a couple of concepts. One, materialism. I think this is something that we deal with today in modern day times, specifically now in 2020, which is the fundamental view suggesting that the facts of mental life can be sufficiently explained in physical terms by the existence of nature of matter. Idealism is the fundamental view suggesting that facts of mental life can be sufficiently explained in mental terms. The soul is non-material, immortal, and can exist alone, separated from the body. So think personally within yourself, which, after I'm done reading, of course, which one of these relates to you and how it relates to psychology, things like that. So material monoism holds that all things and developments, including psychological processes, no matter how complicated they are, have one similar material origin. And atomism is the notion that matter is made up of small individual particles. So mainly speaking for these three, which one of these stands out to you as I want to say superior to the other in terms of psychology? So that make that a mental note for you guys for in terms of your reading and what stands out to you mainly. I'm gonna scroll past this. Plato. So Plato and Aristotle are major founders within the realm of psychology. So there's going to be a lot of talk about them throughout your text. Let me see. I I'm not sure I want to talk about anything else. Like I said, I wanted to make this a short video, and it's already 25 minutes long. But as I mentioned before, like, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I know this material may be a lot to take in specifically, and I think the supplemental videos, such as this video on Western philosophy, and the articles are very helpful with understanding and grasping the material. But as I mentioned before, and this is definitely just an introductory video. I know my next videos will be more in depth, more detailed, but I just wanted to touch on this briefly, just so you guys aren't overwhelmed within the first week of watching an hour-long video and then watching an hour-long lecture. So just to get that nailed down. And as I mentioned before, you do have a paper, so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can get those answers back to you very quickly. And I hope you all had a great holiday, and I will talk to you soon.